Hi Stampers! Today I wanted to share with you the basics of heat embossing. Sparkle and Sprinkle specializes in hand-mixed embossing powders. We have over 200 different colors and blends, so I just wanted to give you a quick basic lesson of how to heat emboss. The supplies you'll need is your Versamark pad, this is the ink that we're going to use, your embossing powder, a static-free bag. This helps the static electricity from holding stray pieces of embossing powder. Your stamp, of course. A coffee filter to collect all your excess embossing powder, and your heat gun. Okay, and we're going to start by using this flower medallion and a piece of cardstock, of course. We're going to use this flower medallion stamp. This is a fine, detailed stamp. And we're going to first use the static free. Now you want to bounce this on your paper and get a good coverage so you don't get any stray pieces of embossing powder sticking where you don't want them. You're going to ink up your stamp in the Versamark and then stamp down on your cardstock. This is a big stamp, so I'm just pressing all around to make sure I get a good coverage of it. Okay? And you can't see the Versamark when it stamps, but once you put your embossing powder on it, you can. So put it on your coffee filter and sprinkle your embossing powder over it. Go ahead and flick it off. And then for easy cleanup, your coffee filter just dumps it right back in there. Okay, now to heat, your heating instructions, you want to hold your heat gun about 1 inch to 1.5 inches away from your cardstock. And you want to turn it on and hold it in one spot until it starts to melt the embossing powders. You can see it change. And then as it changes, you're going to move the heat gun around. So hold it in one spot about 1 inch, 1.5 inches away until it starts to change. And then just slowly move the heat gun over your image. Okay, and there you have it. You can use it like this. You can color. If you emboss when you're coloring, it kind of helps you stay in the lines. But that's just your basic embossing with a fine, detailed embossing powder. Now, I also wanted to share with you our Cosmics. Our Cosmics are very popular. They're a shimmery embossing powder, and they have a lot of them coordinate with the Star Dreams cardstock. But we're just going to use white so you can see the embossing powder and the embossing and how it's done. Okay, again, start with your static free bag, pounce it across real good so you get a good coverage of your powder on there. And I'm going to use this dark flower this time. This is a solid image. And you're going to ink it up again in the Versamark and stamp, and your coffee filter, sprinkle on your embossing powder, tap it off, and then we're going to heat it. And again, we're going to do the same thing. Hold it about 1 inch, 1.5 inches away. Hold it in one spot until it starts to change. And once it starts to change, just move it around your image until you get it all heated. Now sometimes when you're using the cosmic embossing powders, you might get a sheen or a halo around the image. If you do get that, you want to wait until your cardstock is completely cool. Your cardstock and your image is cool. It's still a little bit warm. But when it's cool, take a Swiffer cloth and just wipe the image, and it'll wipe off any of that halo or sheen that is around your image. Okay? So again, that was Cosmics. And then one more I have. We have a lot of semi-transparent embossing powders. They have glitters in them, and they're just a really nice way to get shimmer and a little bit of color on your cardstocks. Now I've got two examples here, and what I did on this one is I stamped. This is good for tone on tone, since your semi-transparents are a clear embossing powdered base. If you stamp on a colored cardstock, it's going to just give you tone on tone. So it just intensifies the color, and it gives it some sparkle. So that's really pretty. I just stamped the fern randomly on the background and sprinkled this on it and heated it. On this particular one, what I did was I stamped the image in a water-based ink on white cardstock, and then I took the Versamark pad and patted the whole cardstock on the Versamark pad to cover the whole image, and then I sprinkled the whole cardstock with the winter green embossing powder and heated it. So it gives you another different look, but yet you can still see the image come through. So again, this is winter green embossing powder. This is just one of our semi-transparents. And then we have our opaque embossing powders, which are good for any of your embossing. So here are 3 different types of embossing and embossing powders and some basic instruction. I hope you enjoy playing around with embossing powders. There's a lot you can do and a lot of different colors, so use some different colors in your embossing and have fun playing. Happy stamping, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.